everyone.
Hello. Last week we answered a question that we've received in a first section. We said we wanted to give one step back, and it was a question concerning prayer. And we said in order to answer that, it's important to give one step back and just look at, when we talk about prayer, who is the prayer addressed to? And then we talked and we looked at the issue of God as love. That was last week's conversation.
And we also just touched again on how our image of God would play into the way that we perceive prayer or that we go into prayer, and also our own personal dialect, which was another of our talks, how that would also be part of what would shape your unique way of communicating with God.
And maybe on that point as well, I think it's important, when we talk about or give an answer or our opinion on this question, what we don't want to do is to give the impression that we have this final solution or the final answer, this is what it is, and we're delivering it neatly tied up, and that is what it should be.
Or like a blanket approach.
A blanket
throwing
approach.
It over everything. Like a gravy.
Yeah. It's not that. We see it more as a process, and it's more a matter of us sharing something of our experience. It's more of an experiential answer than a rational answer.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
That's the most that we can give. We have to confess, we've read up on stuff, and we've been in conversation with other people. So that all played a part, but in the end, it's our experience and what worked for us in terms of a question like this. But let's look at the question again. This person asks, can I pray for healing for myself or other people? Or is it all just random anyway, whether we get better or suffer and die? And who is listening? That is what we addressed last week in that conversation. Who is listening? Or is this another exercise in self-delusion? I'm not being cynical, but I have a genuine desire to understand. So that is the question. And today, the focus is more specifically on prayer and what comes into play when we use the word prayer. What exactly does it mean? Does it mean that by using prayer, I protect myself from the things that are happening to other people who are not praying?
No, I think that's also what we said last week with that quote by James Finley, is that we are not protected from life and from everything that can happen to us in life. We know that just by looking at our lives and everybody around us. Things and life happens with us. So we are not protected, or prayer is not an insurance that we take out on our lives so that everything works out well for us.
So in other words, I can be a Christian and I pray, but my car gets stolen, I get hijacked at a robot.
So in what sense would prayer make any sense then? So, and that's basically what this is about.
Yes.
Is everything just random? Is it just life just happens, and whether you pray or not, it doesn't make any difference? And I think in terms of that, I think that can also be a very long discussion. But in terms of things being random, it is such a difficult thing to pinpoint, because there is so many changeables. There's so many variables. There's cause and effect. There's nature and nurture. There's you pick up a bug somewhere. There's just so many variables
that is life.
And that is life. That is called life. I think where that almost like a very miserable feeling of that comes over you, it's random. It's a very a sad thing that happens because of the potential of life happening to us also in the more difficult circumstances, to be fodder for our inner journey. So to look at everything just random, it's just random, and I must just live through it without letting it touch me, and for me to use it as energy, as a way forward, would be.
I get bogged down then.
Yes.
Yeah.
It would be a pity. It's almost like one wants to. I was going through a difficult time and being very anxious, and I think it's my ego being very scared of change, inner change. But maybe it's just really a physical thing that's happening. But while I'm being anxious, I can just as well look at what my ego is scared of. So if you can use, and it's not easy. I mean, by talking about this, we're not saying that when you're going through a very difficult illness and you're suffering, this is not something that we say lightly to say make some meaning from it.
Yes.
That would be cruel. But it has the potential to take us deeper. We are more vulnerable. We are more open in those places.
Because our ego structures that are well functioning when we are in control, when everything is running according to plan, whether it's a 5-year plan or a schedule for the day or whatever, usually where we are quite in control, things are running smoothly. But if we are really honest, the times when we really grow and learn new things is where the ego can't help us.
Yeah.
And all suffering, it doesn't matter in what form or shape it comes to us, all suffering can be defined as a place where the ego doesn't have a solution.
And the fear, the ego's fear, is often what causes us to suffer most.
Yes. Yes. So, can we pray? Can we say that I'm afraid? Can I ask God, I really, the tests aren't looking good. I want to be healed. I want to spend time with my children, my grandchildren, my spouse. Of course we can. And we don't even have to use words to express that wish or that longing. God, who is love, is so sensitive that he or she even picks up the minutest movement or even a sigh. Psalm 5 says, God, listen to what I have to say, but also listen to my sighs. Listen to what I don't say. God, fortunately, you can listen better than I can speak. And God does that. So we can do this, but the main aim of prayer, from our experience, is not so much that things in our outer world change, but that something in our inner world change.
So it comes down to our intention in praying. if our intention is to change God's mind about what's happening in our lives and that we feel God has let happen in our lives, then of course that is also part of our God image. But if we, like Jesus, pray, and it will also depend on how you see God. For Jesus, God was a father, and you could speak to him like a father, and then that is what your prayer will look like. If God is different for you, more energy or female, or your prayer might look different. You might be using, like we now often, our prayers are becoming more and more quiet without asking, without words, because there's an intention of letting go, like in Jesus' prayer in Gethsemane, in the garden. There's this deep desire, longing in Jesus not to go through the suffering, but then also the surrendering to what he didn't know what was best, and giving that over. So I think in terms of prayer, like you say, it's not about changing God's mind, but about changing how we perceive our life, our reality, our suffering, and it happens to us. It's not happening to God in that sense.
And tying into our prayers, Matilda, and my prayer, becoming more quiet, on a very practical level, what I experience is that when I become quiet and I sit in silence for 20 minutes, initially it feels as if nothing is happening. But over time, something strange happens. It's almost as if you get the feeling as if you tap into this current of life. And you become part of it. You're not outside it. And it's as if you become also more sensitive to the processes within yourself that doesn't help to be part of life.
Yeah, you become aware of how you are blocking life.
Yes.
How you are actually and I think that's one of the main things that one discover is the more we can surrender, and of course our egos do not want to do that, but the more we manage it, even in very small, tiny moments, the more we are surprised by the creative ways that God opens things up. Doesn't mean that you will not be going through difficult things, but there's a sense of, like you say, like being in a current, like being in a flow, that you are not making the river run.
No.
And there's a freedom in that, and a release in that.
Yeah, but simultaneously, that river and flow is almost waiting for me, and is accepting me, and is glad that I'm there. So it's paradoxical. I'm not making things happen per se, but without me, it won't be the same. That's the way.
There's a unique participation that needs
right.
you and needs the river, and it's this mystery, I think, of and that's why I feel we can never say anything is random. I don't think it's predestined. I think it is moment by moment an unfolding that have potential. It has potential in so many ways, if we can be open to it.
And then the basic question can be, does prayer change things? And we say yes, it does. It mostly changes us. When we in prayer with our fears, with our longings, and that prayer is putting our wishes and our longings out there, but that's also balanced. And want to say the listening part must actually become the bigger part. Then usually it's me that changes in this process, for the good. It's not a matter of God saying, well, you better get your act in order, this is happening for you. It's not that. God is love. So this prayer, conversation, relationship, I want to go as far as to say, for me, prayer is more a relationship than a conversation.
And that can be maybe a very good conversation on its own, to talk about that, because life as prayer, yeah, I think so.
Maybe there are questions that popped up for you while we were talking. As we said in the beginning, it's definitely not a matter of tying up loose ends or answering all aspects of prayer. This is an ongoing conversation. But if it can help you in some sense, also in times of difficulty, maybe you in such a time now, and to help you in your prayer life, in whatever form that may be, and to really see what helps you, and to be in conversation also with other people, like this question being posed to us. I think it is so important. And we're not talking lightly about people's real struggle around things, whether it's health issues, feelings of vulnerability. Those are such real issues. And we really don't want to talk lightly about it. But from experience also, when we were in such places, what helped us most was to discover how God is busy within us. That really helped us.
Yeah, even through that.
Yes, through that. Thank you for the opportunity to have this conversation again this morning. May you have a lovely day.
Yes, and a good week. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.